Hello there, and thank you for watching Dukascopy TV. It's Monday, and once again I have in the studio with me Jean-Francois Obzerzac. Using FinGraph technology, we'll be looking at the US dollar and gold today. Hello there, Jean-Francois, how are you?
Hi, Monica, thanks for having me again.
Great. Now, if we're looking at the US dollar, first of all, it had a bit of a setback again on the back of Bernanke's FOMC meeting minutes. Now, what are we seeing as we enter the trading week, though? Is this sustainable, or is it going to be another retrace of steps?
We're going to have a look at it. We're back on our Dukascopy directory on our FinGraph's website, and we're going to go to the dollar rates on a mosaic on an hourly basis. And if we see, and so you have Australian dollar, Euro dollar, cable, New Zealand dollar, and pairs of much interest are maybe dollar Swiss and dollar yen here. And as you see, the move was quite strong. Taking out, I think, more than 3 figures on the euro dollar in a matter of one night. Didn't really make it above our corrective targets, which are around 131.50, if I read this right. Most of the other pairs are already moving lower again, and we held the corrective targets on dollar Swiss and on dollar yen. So for now, we would label this as an intermediate correction. In a move which is still down for the dollar on our daily basis. And maybe we want to switch to the daily before we go into the single currencies. And so the daily, well, as you see, most of the pairs quoted against the dollar are still heading down. And dollar Swiss is still heading up, and dollar yen is also still heading up. So let's go into euro dollar.
Have a closer look at the euro dollar.
Exactly. Then. Well, we're still in this sideways move on euro dollar weekly. The corrective targets have been done almost 2 years ago. It's still pretty much flat. It's only a correction. It's still a dangerous environment. And we would expect that we could see a resumed downtrend here over the next quarters. But on the weekly, at least, nothing has materialized yet. On the daily, well, there's been a lot of back and forths over the last few months. But it seems like the envelopes are now heading down. There is a bit of stress on the envelopes, and the bounce is quite justified, but as you can see, the risk index is still in the middle of the range. So we like to see a synchronization between the two mean reverting indicators here, and that's not the case at the moment. So we would expect this downtrend to continue. It's leading us over the next few months towards the low 120s level. It's still a bear, as the indication shows here. Now on the hourly, we did see this strong correction up. We were in a situation where quite a bit of exaggeration was given, with the risk index in the red, in the green, sorry, and the envelopes touching each other. But for now, it's only a correction up. To create a stronger move and cast our daily into that, we really need to make it above the corrective targets, which means above 131.46 here. So as long as we stay within the range here, we'd still be on a negative long-term trend, and we would consider this zone more an opportunity for the time being. Now, maybe have a look at a closer view to see how we're doing here. And I think if you see the 60 minutes is heading down again, the 15 minutes is an impulsive down again. The 4 minutes is seeing a bit of a reaction at the moment, but is still heading down. What is important is the 60 minutes. If you see here, after the huge move last week, we're in a correction down. And to accelerate down again and reinstate the long-term trend, a first step would be to make it below the corrective targets here. And the corrective targets are pretty much around 129.50. So basically, to the downside, your break point is 129.50. And to the upside, as we previously said, it's about 131.50. So that's the range to watch this week. Good. Now let's go back to the mosaic. The pound sterling is pretty much the same. Just wanted to focus on dollar yen.
It's looking a bit exciting at the moment.
And well, as we often stated, we think dollar yen still has a way to go. The top we saw earlier this year was an intermediate top. Impulsive targets have a range between 102.50 and pretty much 110.60, so there's more potential left, more time left too. On a daily basis, we're in a E2, which is a a far-fetched, but our targets at the moment.
Okay.
And basically they're also showing 110, so we like that coordination between our I2 target here and our weekly target. We are in a bit of a stress position here, but the trend is heading up. So it's basically, if you get crammed on, if you get into a traffic jam, you go to a slower or lower frequency, and your lower frequency is the hourly here. And basically the correction last week didn't create much. It slowly went into the corrective targets, but it seems like it's active to the upside again. It's reinstating, or it's trying to reinstate the uptrend. We'll have to watch it over the next few days to see if an acceleration could happen here. So basically we're still positive on dollar yen, and we think this was just an intermediate correction. We're just waiting till the new move gathers a bit of momentum.
Just wait a little bit longer. Now, if we look at gold, for example, I think last week we talked about it was a corrective up which was having a bit of a hard time. So what are we seeing?
Let's have a look. Well, last week we were quite close to breaking out from the corrective targets. Did we manage it? Are we there yet? Well, not yet. Not quite. There's a bit more volatility than last week, so the target is a bit higher because the targets are based on a calculation of volatility. But if we look at the weekly is still heading down. We still think there's a few quarters to go, similar to what we see on dollar yen, actually, in a reverse situation. We are getting in a stress position. The risk index is in the green here, and the envelopes are touching each other, but it does seem like an intermediate bottom. Usually when envelopes hit for the first time, you really mostly expect it to be intermediate. And so we still believe there's risk over the next few quarters, but it's probably time for a bounce. And that's pretty much what the daily tells us. We're in the zone here, we're even well in the zone. We had this exaggeration here, further exaggeration on the market index. The targets had been done. So the whole question, are we going to have a strong correction up, or are we going to have a sideways move which is going to linger on during the summer? Well, basically to kickstart something strong that we've seen up to now, we really need to make it above the corrective targets. The initial targets have been done. If it was only a correction, you'd probably stop here. So basically above 1291, so 1291, you would initiate a stronger move. And given the volatility, well, you have about 150 points, so you could probably see 150 points higher. So maybe towards the 1400, the 1450. But you really need to make it above the 1291 first.
And that's the figure first of all. Well, Jean-Francois, thank you very much. A lot of great tips there, and thank you once again for the update. It's been a pleasure talking it through.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that's all from Jean-Francois and myself for the moment. Click back to Dukascopy TV for the hourly updates. Goodbye for now.